regarding the article, you guys should bring it up here on legalaffairsandtrials.com. And this was filed, Tuesday night? I got the article out yesterday, but she had filed her original complaint in October, and Milagro's lawyers had filed a motion to dismiss. So I know a lot of people saw yesterday that the judge rejected the motion to dismiss, and which she did. But it was just because the motion was moot, because the motion to dismiss was based on the original pleading, and the amended complaint filed moots the original pleading. So she can definitely still file a dismissal motion. She just has to, the lawyers just have to write it in accordance to the new filing, not the old one. So I would expect to see that, but filed maybe in like a couple weeks. But I definitely think the claim of promotion of an altered sexual depiction would survive anything like that for sure, because it's a new law in Florida, but I mean, it's pretty explicit text that it makes it a crime and then also punishable by civil penalties for anyone to promote sexual depiction of someone, of an identifiable person that's been altered. And it specifies in there that you don't have to just be the person who made the image. It has, you can, if you just promote it or draw attention to it, you can be punished for that. So, and I know I saw some people when I brought that law up originally questioning the constitutionality of the law in general, but the Florida legislature just passed it in the last legislative session, 2024. So supposedly the legislature is supposed to consider stuff like that. But I think in this day and age, if somebody told them that law was unconstitutional, it might just embolden them to pass it more. But who knows? Maybe this case could become like a real litmus test for that law. But I think just under that claim, and just based on the evidence they have of that's definitely going to go forward. But the defamation stuff and the false statement stuff, because we'll get into the lawsuit, but a lot of the stuff that she says is worded like as a question, and they point to her saying like Megan's an alcoholic, and her saying that she needs a guardian and has like a diminished mental capacity. It'll be interesting to see how those shape up in court, because her being a celebrity and some of those things like that she's an alcoholic, well, that's like a clinical diagnosis. It's also just a statement that people say about a lot of people all the time. It's just kind of like an insult that people use. So I think some of it could be, it's not quite the Tasha K Cardi B case of, I remember if you actually look in the court file for the Tasha K Cardi B case, there's a line in there where the court authorized an STD test for Cardi to basically prove that she doesn't have herpes, because like it's just a factual statement one way or the other. So I think the judge is going to have to look at these statements. Someone's an alcoholic. Is that a factual statement, or is it just kind of like an opinion alcoholic thing, or opinion insult kind of thing? But like I said, the one claim that seems definitely like it's not going to be dismissed outright, no way, is the promotion of an altered sexual depiction. But so this is the beginning of the article. They say he's running a harassment campaign from prison, and so they're suing the woman they believe has been paid to spread misinformation online. And the phone calls, and I didn't see any reference to actual phone calls with Milagro, but it's them. They're talking about her a lot in there, and they say that it shows that Cooper is still his mouthpiece. And I caution people that I don't think they've included everything that they have in here. They reference a little bit, but just the fact that they amended their complaint and are including citations to these phone calls shows that I think the lawyers think they have something. And to me, when you read the quotes, a lot of it would just kind of depend on the tone in which it's said. So the lawyers have heard these calls, not us. And obviously they think there's something there, but like I said, you can't really judge totally until you hear them hear them yourselves. But it says, in one phone call, the Petersons confidently asserted that Miss Pete would be unable to prove that Mr. Peterson paid defendant for attacking Miss Pete. So I think some people in his camp are pointing to that and saying, oh, well, there's just no evidence at all that he's saying that because it's not true. He didn't pay her anything. So, they're not going to be able to find anything because it's not true. But I think the lawyers, when they heard that, think that it's him acknowledging that they did pay her, but that there's just no way that anyone's going to be able to prove that. Like I said, it's unless you actually hear it yourself. But I think the lawyers think that it certainly means one thing. I mean, just all the misinformation around this case is interesting. Oh, I saw somebody asking about Dirk. And I don't know, that wouldn't surprise me if there was a superseding indictment, but I have not seen anything like that. The U.S. Attorney's Office would probably issue a press release. He should be in court soon, like next week. There's supposed to be a status conference on, notice of brief filed by plaintiff, seeking detention. Oh, yeah, they're, it's his lawyers seeking, or they just filed it. I don't think it's another charge, but his lawyers just filed a brief. USA filed a brief trying to keep him in custody. Something's going on, but I'll have to look into that one later. Mob radio, and that's the thing. In the end, this is a real lawsuit. I mean, the internet is just so silly, and the people who just live on it and are chronically online. I mean, I say that as we're all online talking to each other, but it's just like she's taking everyone else down with her. It's like, okay. If Dirk was hit with another murder for hire charge, there's nothing filed in the Los Angeles federal case where he's. It's the original indictment, the indictment that they indicted him on, a couple weeks ago. They've still got all those charges in there. There hasn't been anything superseding over that. The stuff that was filed today is something regarding his detention. But that's another case. But yeah, like I said, if anyone has these calls or has access to these calls and can send them to me, that'd be great, because we should all just listen to them ourselves. But because remember, this is not the only thing that they have. They've got these calls, but then they also have Milagro talking about how, the family's taking care of her, that kind of thing. It kind of implies that there is some kind of financial relationship there. And remember, it's not like it's illegal for Lanez to give her money. It's just Megan's lawyers think that it's evidence in support for their claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress, because they're saying that here she is knowingly working with the guy who shot her. And they also bring up the fact that she was in court for Megan's testimony when Megan testified about how the online harassment is so traumatizing to her. So they were saying, it's just further sign that she should know all this stuff. So the complaint adds a defamation claim against, in the case against Cooper, but here we'll go. Yeah, this is her photo with she and Tory Lanez's dad. It says, while defendant's social media posts celebrating the Petersons portray merely an innocent and supportive relationship, defendant also has a financial incentive to act as a paid surrogate to spread defamatory statements about Miss Pete, while Mr. Peterson serves a 10-year prison sentence. In an October 29th, 2024 live stream posted to her social media accounts, defendant implied that she is, quote, still on Mr. Peterson's payroll. This is consistent with statements made by defendant's former best friend, King Noir, who exposed defendant for working alongside Mr. Peterson to smear Miss Pete's reputation. King Noir stated that defendant talks to Tory's daddy as an effort to leak information to the press that comes from Mr. Peterson himself. Moreover, as Mr. Peterson's prison call logs demonstrate, Mr. Peterson has repeatedly discussed defendant with his father. In one phone call, the Petersons confidently asserted that Miss Pete would be unable to prove that Mr. Peterson paid defendant for attacking Miss Pete. And then this is my summary here. It says the complaint added a defamation claim to the case against Cooper, a Houston, Texas resident known as Milagro Grams, who hosts a podcast on YouTube and Stationhead called Mob Radio. It includes the original claims of promotion of an altered sexual depiction, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and cyberstalking. Pete also signed a petition for an injunction to prohibit Cooper from, quote, committing any acts of stalking and providing any terms the court deemed necessary for protection of a victim of stalking, including possible law enforcement involvement.